Good evening, everybody. What's going on? We are going to be talking Transformers Rise of the Beast tonight, and I'm sure we're going to have an awesome time. And I'll figure I'll give it some time for everybody to officially start coming on in before I really start getting deep into spoilers and stuff and talking about all the cool stuff that this movie had, the good, the bad, and the nerdy. That's literally kind of how it's going to be tonight. Yes, I did reach 100,000 subscribers. I want to thank so much of you guys who have supported the channel so far. I will have an official 100K celebration live stream at a in the near future, in the very near future. And I'm going to be doing some cool stuff for that. I'll plan it out. It'll probably be some, same way that I think Patriot Prime does it with the giveaways, like using StreamYard to do the giveaway system, and it allows you to do it that way, which is kind of cool. So I think it'll be a very, very cool thing. I'm working on currently. I'm trying to do my best to get 2 retrospectives done for the month. It's going to be tough because the 2 characters I'm doing are, one is a major character in Rise of the Beast, and the other character, the one that I'm doing first, had a minor role in Rise of the Beast, and then I'm going to do 2 remasters after that. So I figure I'll talk about that. The 2 remasters I want to do are in kind of how would I describe it? Like, doing the 2 of them are, in my opinion, are important because they relate in a way to Rise of the Beasts. So, and it's one that I know that some characters have been waiting for, and what have you. But I figured I would, just give us some time here, because it's like we've got 80 people in so far that are chilling out, it's actually telling, it's weird. Like, my analytics are telling me 80 and then it's telling me 93. So I'm looking at it. Okay. 93 folks are on right now. And I saw Rise of the Beast twice. So it's there's a lot of good to talk about, a lot of bad to talk about, a lot of nerdy stuff to talk about. The nerdy stuff is going to be the stuff that this is what I know for. I pay attention to these little minuscule details, kind of things. And, so Bradshaw's Studio, thank you very much for becoming a channel member. Now, for those of you who don't know, yes, I do have channel memberships up. And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button or hit the thumbs up, I just hit 100K subscribers. So it's literally an awesome thing to have happen tonight, while I'm planning this whole thing. And then on top of that, if you guys want to gift memberships to others, you are also able to do that. You can, gift memberships or do super chats. When I start doing the review tonight, when I start talking deep into the spoiler territory of all the stuff that's happening in the movie and everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the review. So if there are any super chats that are coming in during, while I'm talking about this stuff, for this live stream, what I'm going to do is I will come back and I will read all of those super chats at that point, and then it'll be a chill stream. So I want to kind of focus on this review, and I wanted to do it live. I want to do it live because I wanted to see your guys' reactions. And I see you guys talking about how, how much you either enjoyed the movie or you hated this part of the movie already. I've been reading, you guys know, I read your guys' comments. That's something that I do is I definitely read everybody's comments. Sometimes, I read the comments and I'm I shouldn't be reading comments right now. Thank you very much, Darth, Rakdos, or Rakdos, or Darth Rakdos. Kind of sounds pretty cool, right? So the movie itself, I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, it's um there's some, like I said, there's some stuff that I don't care for. And I know some people, like I've seen a lot of the negative reviews for it too. And I was trying to like pinpoint what it is that they don't like about it in relation to the things that I don't like about it and try to see if there's any correlation. Um and I didn't really see that. It was more so like, how would I put it? It was like the things that I didn't care for were some of the some of the cornier humor parts of the movie, and then the things that I really really enjoyed, like with the Transformers action and stuff. And I if you guys saw my spoiler free review, I said I enjoyed the movie. There were things that I didn't care for, and then there were things that you know I how do I put it? It was there were things that I didn't care for, but like at the same time, it's I enjoyed the movie as a whole. Like that's the best way that I can describe it. So, we pretty much got about 100 people chilling out, watching us do this whole live stream together. And yeah, I got Wheeljack hanging out for a reason, which I will get to when I really, really start talking about this movie. And yeah, it's gonna be fun because and yeah, GI Joe. That's a big thing too. The whole thing with GI Joe, that is a big moment that we will see, and I will talk more about in the future. What do I think about Scourge being the main? I'm gonna get into it, like as far as him being being the main villain, but that's yeah, it's just a lot of cool moments in the movie. Some things that I didn't care, like some bad humor, and that's about it. So let's get into this as a whole. And let's see if I can share the window. Let me move this over here. So I'm just going to get this set up real quick where I had it before. And all right, so here we go. And this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm using TFW 2005's images from one of the TV spots because it's really like where I can like focus on a specific moment with the movie. Now the movie itself it runs for about 2 hours, and I think it was 2 hours and 15 minutes. I could be wrong, but it was 2 hours, and like it was basically exactly 2 hours without credits. Like if you just go by the where is it? There it is. If you just go by the movie itself, and it opens up and it uses Unicron's theme. This is one of those nerdy moments where if you're listening for it. Now I saw the movie on Wednesday night, and when I saw the movie, it was what's it called? It was Wednesday night, and the surround sound was blasting. Like it was literally blasting to the point where you couldn't make out some of the music. But I saw it a second time with my dad on Friday. So I saw it with my wife, and then I saw it with my dad. And because he was excited, he really wanted to see it. And I was able to hear the Unicron cues the second time around. Like I didn't hear it the first time, but it was if you were actually listening for the tune itself, it was like that na, 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 right before the like you don't have that second part. You just have that first part when Unicron first shows up, and that's what you see as they're talking about him and as he's approaching the planet where all of the Beast Wars characters are. And they arrive, they come to this planet, and you see all of all of these launching pods and stuff, and they go to land on the Maximal's planet. Now, it's what I was wondering about this because I was trying to figure out the first time, and after watching it the second time, it kind of was able to put it in a perspective. The Maximals are living on a planet. It's basically it's basically like a colony world, but they're more so about trying to preserve life. And they have their transwarp key, so they go into back and forth in time and space and stuff, and they use a transwarp key, and that is what Unicron is after. And he sends the Predacons, which you see Scorponok, ready to attack, and it's actually an army of Scorponoks, just like they did in Kingdom. And then you have Scourge comes out of a spaceship. I was wondering if they were going to actually have Scourge use his G1 vehicle mode, where he transforms into a flying spaceship, flying hovercraft. And instead, he actually just comes out of it instead. And I was okay with that. I would have preferred it if it was, the latter, not the former, not the latter. But it was still cool because when he comes out, he actually looks menacing. And Scourge himself is awesome looking. That is one thing I will say about him as a villain, is that he just looks terrifying. And the helmet design that he uses is specifically a Unicron mask over his just very generic robot face. And we don't know this, of course, until the end, but that same symbol on his face is the same symbol that you see surrounding, the background of Unicron when he's talking to Scourge himself. And then Apeling comes out. And that was a deep cut. Ape Link was a very cool deep cut. If you don't know who Ape Link is, follow the BotCon comics, it's Ape Link, but instead of a K, it's a Q. And he is the leader of the Maximals, and Optimus Primal and Cheetor and Rhinox and Airraiser arrive, and Ape Link gives command of the Maximals to Optimus Primal, who leaves off in a starship. Now, the interesting thing about this is the actual, when they do escape the spaceship, that they leave on, and I don't have this here with this particular TV spot. It might be on this one. So here is Ape Link in particular, and everyone's going, "Is that Optimus Primal?" Yes. Well, he was an Optimus Primal repaint. He was a Transmetal Optimus Primal repaint. So it is a different toy mold from the two characters' perspective, but it's the two characters are very different. And it was cool to see. It was a very cool deep cut for sure. And, let's see if I can get, so then you have the Predacons arrive, and it's like these Scorponoks, come out, and they're basically like foot soldiers for Scourge. And when the Maximal ship leaves, what you don't notice, and this is not really here with this particular TV spot, but you actually see it looks like, if you remember in G1, the shockwave on Cybertron had this thing that kind of came out, and that's what the space bridge was, right? So the spaceship actually goes through that tower. And I think that this movie was trying to do a lot of stuff to merge in a lot of the cool nerdy stuff. And you don't really see much more of that, except for later on in the movie. But as the spaceship is leaving, Ape Link fights off against Scourge, and Scourge aces him, completely kills him. And then Unicron eats the planet. And it was really, really cool to see Unicron actually start to eat the planet. He starts inhaling it. And from there, we get the opening credits. And the movie shifts at that point from the Maximal world to New York City. And with the shift to New York, I actually thought it was really cool that they did this. They went ahead, and I think we had this on a TV spot in particular, but it's not in one of these TV spots. But they actually had they actually had New York, they actually had here this particular shot right here. The World Trade Center was actually put back in place because the movie takes place in 1994. And the music that they use is straight mid 90s hip hop. So if you're familiar with Brooklyn at the time, that's what a lot of people were listening to. You'd hear it like walking down the street, people would be carrying their boom boxes, and you would hear all of that music all over the place if you were in New York. And to have the World Trade Center, recreated was nice specifically, but as long as they have the rest of the buildings, like that's the one thing that I picked out on one of the earlier TV spots was that there is a building that actually opened in 2010 that was standing behind the World Trade Center instead of World Trade Center 7. So they had the wrong building in place, but they just had the Twin Towers there. And that's fine. That works. I mean, because to me, like the Twin Towers are an iconic moment. Now, I said before that I saw the movie with my dad the second time around on Friday. And if you're not familiar with this particular story, then this is a story that this is a particular story that I think is very relevant because Peter Davison, who plays Mirage, his father was a firefighter who was actually killed during 9/11 from the buildings coming down. But my dad specifically was there as well. He used to work for Xerox, and Xerox had their office was in New York City. That he actually worked out of was at 11 Park Place on the 18th floor, and had a bay window that you can see the Trade Center and everything. So he came to work early that morning, and he got to the 98th floor at 8 a.m. that morning. And the office that he went to work for, to fix their copier, was not open yet. So he started saying that he had a feeling in the back of his neck that he needed he had like something pulling on him, telling him that like it felt like a weird pain. So he says, you know what? All right, the office is not open. I'm going to go down to the lobby. And he goes to one of those Hudson News places that they have usually in the lobbies of those big, those big skyscrapers. Gets a cup of coffee and a bagel, and the plane hits the building. So that's his story between 9/11. From there, he went across the street to back to the Xerox office where he can see the second plane hit the building. And then, of course, he survived, obviously had to leave, decided to leave New York at that point. So for him, it was a firsthand experience. And for me, it was, oh my gosh, I got to get in touch with my dad. I'm trying to call him. I can't get in touch with him. The Trade Center had collapsed, and that's basically the story. So, when I say I want to make sure that whenever they're doing any piece that happens in New York during the 90s, during the 80s, during the 70s, when this building stood, it is a testament to say that not only did this event happen, but also we never want to see an event like this happen ever again to the people of New York. And like the other thing that was kind of cool. So anyway, we get to New York and we're introduced to Noah. And Noah's character is, he's trying to make a living, and at the same time, he's trying to do like a side job in order to make ends meet. So he's working on this cable box since he was good with electronics, and he gets a cable box working. And I kind of thought it was funny that Tupac actually shows up on the screen. It was like the first thing that I noticed, right there was like, how do you have not have Tupac in the movie, right? Even though it's New York and everybody's a big Biggie fan, right? And, you have his brother is saying stuff over the radio, and they're trying to have breakfast. And the thing that was interesting that this whole walkie-talkie thing was a tie-in to what happens at the end of the movie. And that, of course, is the thing with G.I. Joe, but I'll get to that as I talk about it. So he's this, he's getting ready for a job interview, and his mom is getting ready to go to work, which is kind of like you feel the pain of like somebody who's struggling, trying to make ends meet and trying to live in New York, with rent being so high. It is what it is. So what ends up happening is I thought this was kind of cool, was like the kid comes in and he puts a Game Boy down, and you hear a Super Mario Brothers 1 NES, losing a life, and he's like, I can't beat Bowser, and he's wearing a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger shirt, and I go, that doesn't make any sense. The game, if he was playing Mario on a Game Boy, would have been Super Mario Land or Super Mario Land 2, and the losing a life sound effect would have been different, and Bowser was not was like a nerd moment for me, where I was like, he's not playing NES there, he's playing on a Game Boy. And the Game Boy came out in 1990. So yeah, the original, like the Super Mario Brothers DX game didn't come out until 1999, but that was the Game Boy Color, and he had an old school Game Boy. So that was like one of the things where I was like, that's a nerdy moment for me, a really super duper nerdy moment. And we also find out that the kid has sickle cell, and so he's sick, and they're trying to pay for his medical bills. And I really felt for him, because I had a friend growing up who had sickle cell, and it is a disease that actually affects the blood in a lot of people. And he was a good friend of mine, and the sickle cell eventually had him where he no longer could walk without a walker. And then eventually the sickle cell took his life by the time he was in his mid-30s. So it was I think I want to say it was like 10 years ago now. I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago, something along those lines. But yeah, so I had a friend so to me, that was very personal. When I heard that the kid had sickle cell, it was really sad. So it was Noah engineers the Game Boy to be able to play NES games and have a color screen, right? That would have made a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, I haven't it was so sad, because I went to the kid's the guy's funeral, and but it was a good friend of mine, and it just kind of sucks that but it was cool that I don't want to say it was cool. I'm glad that they used it to bring attention to that particular thing that ended up happening to the kid. So he goes for a job interview, and we learn that Noah had that is true. It does affect blacks and Hispanics. So, and but anyhow, so Noah goes for this job interview, but the job interview was canceled, because we learned that while he was in the military, he was trying to actually take care of his brother. But the thing is he doesn't know how to be part of a team. So from there, he tries to bring his kid to, not his kid, his little brother, to the hospital. They won't take care of him. So he comes back and he tries to figure out, how else am I going to get money? I'm going to, work for, the guy who was already stealing cable, and goes off to steal a car. The car turns out to be Mirage. And from there, Optimus rolls in, and we're also introduced to Elena in the museum. They end up finding this Air Razor statue, which ends up being the pinpointing laser to because it's half of the transwarp key. And then of course the Autobots come in, and Mirage takes Noah for a joyride, and from there the movie really takes off. The whole New York sequence, the whole introduction to Noah, and I really long-winded a lot of this introduction, but all of what you see with Noah in the movie, it takes a while for it to start, but I honestly feel like it was good for the setup of the movie, because once they get to the museum and the big battle happens, that museum battle was awesome. It was just straight awesome. And so was the introduction to the Autobots. We're introduced to Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and RC, but the only thing, this character here, I'll talk about a little bit later. And they have this big battle, and then of course they realize they have to go to Peru. They go to Peru and they meet Wheeljack. They have Stratosphere take him there, and then they have the big battle at the end. So I wanted to try and condense the whole storyline there. And the movie itself was actually really cool overall. I think if I was to give this movie a rating, I would say it would be a 7 out of 10. And yeah, that would be my best way to say this movie was. It was a 7 out of 10. I know some people gave it a 5. I know some people gave it a 9. I think the things that are positive really bring the movie up, but I think that the negatives do bring it down a little bit. The second half of the movie was a little ridiculous. It had that typical sci-fi big portal in the sky because Unicron is coming down. And we also learn, I want to say this, that we learn that Unicron is going to be a villain moving forward. Like it's going to be like Thanos. So, Thanos is supposed to be like the villain that comes in like movies later, like in the Avengers movie. So that's exactly what's happening here. Thanos was supposed to come, but he's being saved for a later movie. And that's what Rise of the Beast is supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be setting this whole universe up. Now, for the Maximals themselves, I do want to talk about the Maximals because they were awesome when they were on screen, but only Optimus Primal and Airazor actually get any storyline. Poor Rhinox and Cheetor. They should have had a lot more storyline, or at least a lot more dialogue. And I wonder if this movie kind of, how can I put it? They had a lot of stuff they wanted to stuff in this movie, and they had to cut for time. And Cheetor and Rhinox really lose out on so much of the movie. And yeah, the final battle did kind of feel a little bit like Bayverse as far as the action is concerned, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see the movie in action, because the action in this movie is shot a lot better than previous movies of the past. I would say Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast have much better action sequences, at least as far as refined. Because one thing I really didn't like about the Bay films was that whenever the action happened, you were sitting at a worm's eye view and the camera was like, it was in your face. Like that's the best way that I can describe it. And it was hard to pick out sometimes what's happening. Go ahead and watch the Bumblebee versus Barricade fight in the first movie, and then watch some of the battles in this movie, and you can tell what's happening in this movie. In the Bumblebee movie, you can tell what was going on. It was really appreciated, and I really, really enjoyed that. So, and we do know Michael Bay is a producer on this movie. To my understanding, he's not really a hands-on producer. It's more so he's trying to help with the action sequences, because Stephen Caple Jr. really did a lot to try and make sure that the movie, was coherent, was put together, and that the storyline fit the way that he wanted it to go. Because we know that Stephen Caple Jr. wants there to be another movie after this that leads into more battles with Unicron. And we also know that he wants to bring Megatron in. Now, here are some of my gripes. You have Optimus Primal and Airazor. They're awesome. Airazor doesn't transform. That was a negative for me. Cheetor and Rhinox completely got lost in the shuffle. Even though that they were awesome when they were on screen, and the Predacons were not present at all except for the Scorponok army. And even with that, they were just generic gray robots or generic gray scorpions, and that's about it. So, and they actually were supposed to be called the Predacons, but that line was cut from the movie to make, to basically just make them foot soldiers of Unicron. They're not actually the Predacons, so no Predacons actually show up in this movie, only the Maximals. My other negative is a big negative. Very, very big negative. It's one that I've been very, very critical on from day one for a lot of reasons, because I love Wheeljack, the guy who's sitting on my microphone. I adore this character. He's one of my top characters. Of course, you guys know I'm a Rodimus Prime fan. I never expect them to do Rodimus Prime. Why? Because Rodimus Prime has to replace Optimus Prime, and they will never do that. So can I get my other favorite characters on the screen? Well, I did get one of my favorite characters on the screen in the Bumblebee movie, and right in that introduction scene. But Wheeljack, I did not. And they changed the voice actor for him. And when he shows up on screen, I did not feel like this character should have been Wheeljack. So hear me out on this. As far as the character is concerned, like if I was to remove the fact that they called him Wheeljack, and if I was to say he was just somebody else, I could picture this character being called Beachcomber. I can picture this character being called Fix-It, Gizmo, Gearbox, something. Just something, not Wheeljack. Because it's not Wheeljack. And they call him Wheeljack. So that is my gripe with the character. Because it's a nerdy character. And look, they even tried to add the fins. But they only added the fins once. If you watch the rest of the battle sequence, he does not have the fins. So what does that tell me? It doesn't work, right? Yeah, it's like I don't like the fact they called it, character with glasses, Wheeljack. Exactly. So that is like one of my biggest gripes with the film. However, as far as the character and the voice actor is concerned, if you didn't call him Wheeljack, I would have been perfectly fine with him, and I thought it would have been so cool that they actually had a Volkswagen bus named Wheeljack. And yeah, okay, he's the actor himself who's playing it is Mexican, and they're in Peru, so he's supposed to have a Peruvian accent, apparently. And then he actually has a very cringe-worthy introduction. His introduction is very, very, very cringe, in my opinion, because Noah says, like, oh, I didn't know that you spoke Spanish. And we're like, huh? That was a little off, a little, it was one of those lines that you just kind of had to like cringe at. But if they just left the character as is and called him something else, I would have been perfectly fine. A lot of people are saying, Pedro Jack because it says Pedro on the side of the vehicle. I say, call him Fix-It, call him Gearbox, and I would have been fine with the character. I would have said, add the character to another Transformer series, but leave my boy Wheeljack alone. That's what I would have preferred, but they didn't do that. So I know there are going to be people who are going to go, you're still complaining about it. But something, everybody told me I had to see the movie first, and then I was allowed to complain. Well, now I saw the movie, and now I'm still complaining. And yes, he has Rat Trap's colors, and he actually says, are we all going to die? He actually says that. So to me, he's Rat Trap Jack. Like Pablo Rat Trap. That would be a more accurate description of the character. On screen. He was a cowardly. He's like, oh, and he's like ready to like shoot at Cheetor, and then he gets hit by Rhinox. So I didn't care for the character, but he was barely there for the movie. So if next movie they bring in a Wheeljack and they actually have him look like this, I am sure there will be fans who loved the movie and say, I loved my Pablo Jack. Where is that guy? And it's like, we're not bringing that guy back. I can imagine them doing that on purpose and watch the some of the fans actually complain about that. But now I digress, because his role was relatively minor, and it did not it was one of those things that I did not care for from the film. But it didn't take away from the film overall. That being said, what's another positive I can talk about? RC. RC was awesome for when she was on screen. She did exactly what she needed to do to show herself off. She had like a lot of flips, really cool moments. Wasn't like overbearing, in the film. She has this she's actually able to put like her visor down and scan Noah and said, oh, he's a soldier. That was cool. I like how she flips in. The way she actually fights was cool. She actually rides on Rhinox. But all of the, and here's something else. If you've seen the trailers and seen all of the TV spots, you've actually seen most of the movie. That is one complaint I can definitely make. So a lot of what you've seen of RC, you've seen already, if you've seen that already. So that being said, RC's one scene where like Elena goes, "It's not real," and then RC goes like this was cut from the film. So that's not in the film. The transit fight is cut from the film. When Optimus Prime rolls in and it's in the rain and he's like going into the MTA, he's actually supposed to be fighting against transit and then dumping transit in the Hudson. And unfortunately, Transit's scene got cut from the film, and all we see is Optimus roll into the bus yard, turn into robot mode, and sees the whole, portal or thing in the sky, and that's about all. Now, I do want to talk about, so RC herself again was really cool as well with Wheeljack, specifically when she like flips the car. She goes, "Okay, brake, brake, brake." But that was one thing as well I want to say is a positive. Now, another positive I definitely want to make is Mirage. Mirage surprised me because I'm not one of the people who was really upset about the idea behind a Porsche not being Jazz, but being Mirage. And my reason for that being was because not so much that they couldn't make Jazz a Porsche as well, because Jazz is not in the movie. So, and this is more of an introduction to Mirage. And Mirage in robot mode does look like Mirage to a degree. He's a little bit young, like a younger looking Mirage. So I was watching the episode Traitor today with my daughter because she wanted to watch it. She's actually seen it more than once. And now she wanted to watch it again because she likes Mirage and she likes Cliff Jumper. So we watched that episode. And one thing I wanted to point out was that Mirage in G1 was a rich aristocrat who was homesick. But Mirage in this movie is kind of like a little bit of a rebel. And I thought about it for a second. He is a high-end car. So as a high-end car, he's got to be a kind of I would say like a rich kid. So instead of being rich where he's like, a little bit homesick, a little bit snobby, a little bit, like I would say about G1 Mirage, he's a young rebellious rich kid. And if you can look at that dynamic of how it's not really a reinvention of the character, because he also does use mirages, by having like fake mirages show up. He has, the cars and and his robot mode in the final battle, and so he uses the Mirage ability. And he also turns into a Lamborghini, and he turns into an F1 racer in the garage to kind of like show that off. And to me, that was a little bit of a tease because I was like, I would have liked to have seen the F1 racer. But in my opinion, and I talked about this with some of the other, Transformers YouTubers, I said to them, I honestly think that Mirage doesn't transform into those vehicles. He uses a hologram as he turns into car mode to make his car mode feel more like that vehicle. And I think that makes a little bit more sense instead of just being able to scan and transform. But it was kind of cool. Like in Garage, he actually turns into a garbage truck. And when he turns into a garbage truck, the front of the truck is silver and blue, but the back of the truck is the green dump truck. It's, garbage truck itself. And I thought that was kind of interesting and kind of funny at the same time. But the way that Mirage introduces himself is just very, very cool. And Pete Davidson surprised me because I'm not a big fan of him, but the way he brought the character to life in a way that I enjoyed throughout the movie. The other thing that they did was they actually had Mirage kind of turn into an exosuit because he gets badly battle damaged during the final fight, and he turns into a bodysuit for Noah to help fight. So basically, Mirage is so badly wounded that he, can't fight on his own anymore. So he basically says, "I'm going to give you my power and have you, transform over you into like an Iron Man kicker / exosuit from G1, and he actually starts fighting Scourge at first, but Optimus arrives. So the exosuit was cool and the exosuit was weird, but I really, really enjoyed it. That was just really cool to see happen. And then the other thing that was really cool was hearing Optimus Primal say, Maximals, maximize. That was great. I think he said Cheetor or Rhinox maximize. I think he actually said that as he transformed. And I kind of see like how some people may not like Mirage's character, but I like the Maximals, as they were in battle. Airazor, I was disappointed she turned into a didn't turn into a robot. And Optimus Primal, I was wondering why he didn't turn into a robot, when he was talking to Optimus like on a normal level. But the one-liners that he was delivering were more so based upon the fact that he improv'd a lot of his lines. So, but the lines of dialogue were great. They were fantastic. I thought that was awesome. So another really cool thing, I enjoyed all 3 villains. This is one of the few times, like all 5 of Bay films, it was like I wanted more out of the Decepticons. The two best live action Decepticons that we've ever gotten, in my opinion, have been Shatter and Dropkick. Brand new characters, actually had character, but the live action films under Bay really didn't treat the Decepticons well. But in the Bumblebee movie, it was awesome, seeing Shatter and Dropkick be brand new characters, and they were great in that movie. In this movie, all 3 Decepticon, or all 3 Terrorcon villains, they call them Terrorcons in the movie because they are servants of Unicron, which is actually antithetical to previous lore, because Scourge in G1, if you guys are familiar with him, he was, Thundercracker, as a Decepticon rebuilt into Scourge. In Car Robots, the one that we got as Robots in Disguise 2001 was a copy of Optimus Prime, which is why you had the black truck, which is why he was Black Convoy in Japan. And then here he kind of has the dark energon flowing within him, like the Fallen from the Dreamwave comics. But in this movie, he's just a servant of Unicron. And Terracons, they're not the Combiner group, nor are they the zombie dark energon infused monstrosities from Transformers Prime. Instead, the Terracons are just the faction in which are servants of Unicron in this movie. And I thought that was fine. I guess we're not going to see the Combiner team anytime soon, but it is what it is. And Battle Trap also was a gimmick back in Generation 1. He was just a duocon that was a helicopter and a truck that turned into one robot. So the 2 vehicles would transform and merge, and then it would transform into the robot. And then Nightbird was an Earth-made robot. But in this movie, the 3 characters are just servants of Unicron, infused with dark energon, and they were actually awesome. Nightbird couldn't fly. Her car mode was great. Battle Trap, what I loved about him is how he used his environment to his advantage. He had his mace, which he used to smash things, and then he used his crane hooks, or actually not crane hooks, it was tow truck hooks, to either grapple onto something, or to like throw it, or to like have him in vehicle mode turn around. Like the way that Battle Trap fought was just so cool. So like you see him, he's riding along the road. He actually throws his hooks onto the back of Nightbird, and then it turns him around so he doesn't lose momentum, and he shoots missiles at RC and Wheeljack. And then later, he actually uses those same hooks to grapple onto Wheeljack himself and toss him off a cliff. So I thought that was really cool. And Nightbird could fly. She actually has wings. That was like a cool thing that they added for her, but she does have the swords. She doesn't use them very much. I thought that was a little bit of a I think that maybe she should have had a little bit more. And I honestly wonder if some of her action sequences were cut for time, because most of what we saw out of her was flying to swoop in midair, fight, and then like throw somebody through something. But Air Razor now, when she comes in during the fight at the museum, she has like the fire breath, and she's great. And Michelle Yeoh does a wonderful job as Air Razor for the voice, but she doesn't transform. And then Optimus Primal is forced to kill her. And I thought that was, I did not care for that. But I understand why they did it. Like Scourge was infecting Air Razor and she couldn't control it. And Primal was forced to do what he did. I will say this much. I really think that Ron Perlman did a great job as Optimus Primal throughout the movie. Even though I would have preferred Gary Chalk, I still think Ron Perlman did a much better job this time around than he did during Power of the Primes. And yeah, Scourge was just a great villain. Just a fantastic villain. When he got his face kicked off, he looked like Ultron without the mask. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. There was no like extra like special thing out of the robot, but also, the one other thing that I will take note of, and it kind of is a negative, and it's not really that big a deal, the song they use for when Mirage is driving, I believe it's across the Brooklyn Bridge. I could be wrong about what bridge it was. I didn't pay attention to what bridge it was, but the song they use is Hypnotize. And then later on, when Mirage is getting rebuilt with some junker parts, they use the song Hypnotize again. Now, Hypnotize didn't come out till 96. The movie takes place in 94. That is a super nerd take right there that I'm sure that anybody who is a big fan of any, hip hop from New York or West Coast rap would pick up on. But, I think that Scourge was a fantastic villain. Now, if we can get a Megatron in a movie that is just as menacing as Scourge was, I'm all for it. I want Megatron to come back. I want a Starscream who wants to usurp him. I want a Soundwave ejecting cassettes. I want that. Bring me that on screen. And oh yeah, here's another thing. So Bumblebee was, Bumblebee was not much in the movie because he gets killed by Scourge, literally killed. Air Razor dies, but she's not revived. But Bumblebee gets revived, and he jumps out of stratosphere, during Mama Said Knock You Out. So he's flying down, and he's starting to shoot at all of Unicron's, little orbs or what have you, and he fights against Nightbird, and he does the one that ends up getting to kill Nightbird, and that was great. But he died. And he got revived. But they killed Air Razor and they couldn't bring her back. Just saying. I'm more disappointed in that. And I expected the villains to die. I expected Battletrap and Scourge and Nightbird to get killed. Speaking of which, Optimus Prime goes through a story arc in this movie. He's not real. When you first are introduced to him, he doesn't really trust humans. He doesn't know whether or not he can trust humans. And that's understandable. So Optimus Prime is really trying to, he doesn't quite, have, I mean, I should get a good shot of Optimus Prime specifically here, but Optimus goes through a whole story arc, and he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't know whether or not to trust humans. But when he does begin to trust humans, he, what's the word I'm looking for? Obviously helps with the final battle, and he starts to actually, trust Noah. And I actually thought it was a good story arc for him. The only thing about his character in the movie was when he was talking to Scourge, he said, the lines that he delivered were very Decepticon-esque. And I didn't really care for that in a way. I don't mind it because it was trash talking on the battlefield. But I think that Optimus saying he was gonna like I'm gonna take off your head, like I'm gonna like that's it. That's like movie badassery that really it was a little much for Optimus a bit, but his story arc was good, and he got to decapitate. He actually goes, "I'm gonna show you the power of the primes" as he yanks Scourge's head off. That was cool. Like that was really really cool. The way that he did that. And then the portal ends up getting destroyed, and it's sucking everything up because Unicron is trying to come through the portal so he can eat the Earth, and he ends up getting pushed back. And as everything is getting sucked up, Optimus, as you can see here, is trying to drag the axe so he can actually survive. And Primal and Noah both save him, and I thought that was great. And the transformation sequence with Optimus turning into a truck, having Noah on the back using the jetpack, and having Primal run was just like Saturday morning cartoon, like we're escaping like it's Metroid. So great to see that whole sequence happen. It was really, really cool. So at the end of the movie, we got teased G.I. Joe. And that G.I. Joe tease was awesome because we know that they want to make a big cinematic universe. And Noah gets that like calling card, like, hey, here is G.I. Joe. We know about the robots. And that was that was also a really cool, cameo, so to speak. And I'm wondering where they're going to go with that. I'm hoping that they do G.I. Joe justice. And I said this on a live stream last night, this with somebody. I said, how cool would it be with G.I. Joe if it's actually the Decepticons are the weapons that Cobra is using? Cobra has jets that are the Seekers. Cobra has tanks that are Decepticon tanks. And one of his tanks might be Megatron, or the gun can mass shift and it's Megatron. How cool would that be to have G.I. Joe and Transformers introduce the Decepticons? That would be so cool. That would just be amazing. As long as they erase the previous 3 movies. Because here you have Bumblebee, you have Rise of the Beasts, and you're introducing G.I. Joe. Give us a G.I. Joe movie. Give us a Beast Wars movie. I want a Beast Wars movie with like Optimus Primal and the Maximals and all of that, and have the Predacons and all that for them. And then have G.I. Joe and Transformers where it's Optimus versus Megatron and Duke versus Cobra. That would be so cool. That would be just so awesome if they did that. And the exosuit, did remind me a little bit of Headmasters in a way. It kind of reminded me of Master Force in a way. But that's how I think that they should do it. That would be my personal take of it all. So again, overall, I think the movie is a 7 out of 10. The negatives that I've already talked about before are going to be present. They're always going to be present. It's always going to be something that I'm going to have an issue with the movie. But that doesn't mean that the movie was awful. I think that there are things that they could have done better. And there are things also, I do know that the live action film, that the movie did have a 2022 version, and that movie was changed, and some of it was remaining in the final cut of the film. And that's where things like, we are from your past and your future. That line in particular would have made more sense if there was a transwarp thing, if there were Predacons. That would have made more sense, but that thing was taken away because the movie was changed a little bit. So with that said, I want to know what you guys think of Transformers Rise of the Beast. And so that's where I want to hear from you guys. So we'll go from there. And that's what I'm going to do from here. Like, I'm going to take this, what I recorded here, and I'm going to put it on a single video and cut parts where I need to cut. The biggest thing I'm having right now is because I'm live, I'm not using OBS for the camera, and my camera has an like I can't turn autofocus off. So hear me out. Like when I go like this, you're gonna notice like my camera does some weird shaky stuff. So I apologize for that. But yeah, 7 out of 10. I think it'd be a fair shot. I think the people who are being very critical about the things that I didn't like are the ones ranking it a 5. I think the ones that, you know, they're completely overlooking those negatives are giving it a higher ranking, but I think a 7 out of 10 is a proper rating in my opinion. So, yeah. And I would say here's the thing: in a way I enjoyed Bumblebee more, and I enjoyed this movie a lot because I mean obviously I watched it twice, but I enjoyed Bumblebee a little bit more, and I think that the two movies are like this with me right now. I still think that like that Bumblebee like it gave me the fan service that I wanted in that opening sequence, and it gave me good Decepticons in the rest of the movie, like Decepticons that were actually characters, like Dropkick and Shatter were just great Decepticons in that movie. And but in this movie, I liked Optimus Prime's arc. I like Optimus Primal. I like the way they did RC. I did not like how they did Wheeljack. I like that they introduced and are preparing for Unicron. I liked the villains in this movie. Scourge was a terrifying villain, and I want Megatron to have just as much presence in a Decepticon movie. I thought Mirage was really cool. The turning into a suit was a little weird. It's one of those lore things that you're going, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for a Transformer to just turn into a bodysuit. And I'm still trying to figure that out. And I also, in the Bumblebee movie, the Blitzwing character, in my eyes, is named, to me, it's just a seeker named Redwing. That's how I justify that. And in this, and in Rise of the Beast, I don't look at that character as Wheeljack. I look at that character as Fix It Pablo. You know, and I can enjoy the character that showed up on the screen if he wasn't named Wheeljack. That's how I look at it. Like that separate the two, and then it's easier to see it that way. And yeah, in that opening sequence, seeing Soundwave, seeing gosh man, like having Shockwave, Starscream, you know, all of the other 6 Seekers, like it was just so great, like how they did that. It was just so cool. Really, really enjoyed the movie for Rise of the Beast overall, though. And so, with that said, I do have to get back to some super chats. I did not read your guys' super chats while you guys were, you know, because I was going a little bit more formal with the review. So let me read these super chats, and then I'm going to do something else. So, Fishy says, Rat Jack, his name is now Rat Jack. That makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of funny. Very funny. Melvor, if you want to join in, I'll send you an invite. You know, if you want to join in, if you're up for it. And you know, what do I think about the arrival to Earth? That was cool. Oh, really cool scene. Cheetor and Bumblebee. We already saw it in the trailer, but seeing Cheetor and Bumblebee, you know, running alongside each other, this is where again I really wish that Cheetor had a lot more scenes in the movie. But hearing Arrival to Earth was nice because that was a good callback. Unicron's theme was kind of used in the movie a little bit. I wish they used a little bit more of the older soundtracks, both from, they could have used the live action soundtracks. Arrival to Earth is great. Hearing Unicron, I wish they used Beast Wars. I wish I heard that. I wish we heard that, but we didn't. But, you know, it is what it is. So, but anyhow, so what did everybody else think of the movie? Everyone else enjoy it? Seen it 4 times already. You've seen it 4 times already. Wow. Just wow. So That's awesome. Yeah, there are details that they got. Oh, something else. The Beast Wars characters, I didn't mind for this particular movie not having them in the scale that they were in Beast Wars, because I don't know, they wouldn't have been able to interact the way that they wanted them to. So I was perfectly fine with that. And other than that, I mean, it was like I said. Oh, and as far as this movie, is it a prequel to Bayverse or a reboot? It has to be a reboot. They cannot fit this into a reboot. I think the movie is going to be mildly successful because you have Enter the Spider-Verse as competition, and you have I think that I don't think that the movie can fit. I don't think that the really movie can fit into it. It can't fit into the Bayverse. There's too many things that just do not fit into the Bayverse at all, and it's just kind of how I feel about it. So let me just do this really quickly before I got some folks that might want to join in, and let me just do this really quickly here. Now that I've basically finished my review, I'm just sending out the invites real quick, because I figure we'll spend the rest of the time together tonight, in having some fun, and I think that. All right, so I got a little Mr. Omega Supreme came in. I sent those out, figuring we'd all have some fun talking live. $710 million already.
Wow.
Is that true? I don't think that. Let me actually look at Box Office Mojo really quickly. Because that's really where, like, they usually have that information ahead of time. Rise of the Beast is currently sitting. No. It's not 710. It's at 60 million domestic, 18 international, 79 worldwide for opening weekend, and that's not including Sundays. So
can you see? Is there a comparison there with Spider-Verse? I know there was some people were wondering if Spider-Verse was gonna still take number one, or if Rise of the Beast was gonna.
Spider-Verse is currently sitting at 225 domestic, 87 international, 313 worldwide. Right now we got Friday is at 51 million and 37 million for Spider-Verse. And
to be fair,
so far we got 25, 19, and 15. It's an ouch.
Well, hopefully good word of mouth will more people will go out and see it.
I think that's really what we have right now is the movie itself is. All right. Yeah, I sent you the invite, Melvor, if you wanted to join in. But loving the channel as a diehard Transformers fan. I appreciate that you liked the movie a little bit more than I did with the positives, the 8.5. The director has it right. He did. I think that Stephen Caple Jr., definitely is a fan. And I had not given you guys a my normal thing for for super chats. So let me just do this really quick.
Word. Let's take it back to the old school. Word. Let's take it back to the old school.
Opportunity, they did not bring Trax and Raul together. Instead, they did Mirage and Noah.
There you go.
What's my thoughts on Scourge name dropping Primus? That was cool. I thought that was cool because that means that they're going to do something bigger later, and they're probably going to do something just amazing overall. So yeah, let's take it back to the old school. I don't think that this movie is it's going to struggle to get the legs that it needs, because this opening weekend it's still fighting the Spider-Verse, and what's another 2 weeks before what comes out next weekend?
Flash might come out, or I don't know if Flash is 1 to 2 weeks.
Flash, and then I don't know about Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
but I don't know how Indiana Jones is going to do, but next weekend is the Flash, so Transformers needs a lot of people going to go see it, like now, for it to be. But are they adding in? Is Transformers adding in the totals from Wednesday? I wonder, because it had the earlier screenings on Wednesday.
Yeah, they might have combined all of one, because I know they usually have like the Thursday night preview. It said Thursday night like 8.8 million. I don't know if that counts Wednesday. Or not.
Not sure. I'm sure everybody else.
And
It's
there's
a Sunday night, so
it may not be a day and date release either. There could be a lot of countries that it hasn't opened up yet.
Okay. Remember, wanting Steven to take the sequels off Earth. Maybe we can get bounty hunters. Give us Death's Head. Well, actually, they can't give us Death's Head. They'd have to give us Lockdown instead, right? So that was like the whole reason why Lockdown was even created in the first place, was because they couldn't get Death's Head. So, to my understanding, Starscream's designed the movie. I disagree. So I haven't seen it. Waiting for my brother to come back and his leave. I'm so glad the positive reception is getting. Yeah, I think that if you go watch Bumblebee again, and then but right before you go see it, and I think it'll you'll feel like it's like definitely a proper sequel in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about David Sobolov, because he was credited with 3 voice roles. I noticed he had Battle Trap, Ape Link, but also Rhinox. So I'm wondering if maybe Rhinox had some dialogue and maybe it got cut from the film.
I think it got cut. I think his dialogue got cut. Stratosphere was cool. I like.
Yeah, that was John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids were kind of confused. They're like, why didn't they just use Jetfire again? And I'm like, well, that would have muddled things up even more than what it already is.
Yeah, but I also think it's because I think they're still trying to toe the line whether or not this is a prequel or whether or not it's a reboot.
Yeah.
And so they have to use a different character using Stratosphere, and he's a beat up old warbird. Which I think that worked a lot better.
Oh yeah.
Personally. Yeah, bring in Warpath. Can you imagine Warpath in a movie with basically robot Tourette's? Oh, since you're the Omega Supreme guy, I honestly think that the Maximal ship did a Omega Supreme in its takeoff. Hear me out.
Oh, what, parts forming?
Subspace storage pocket.
Okay.
So the ship takes off. I believe it's the ship that transforms into the tower.
Like I said, I've only seen it the one time. I'm gonna have to definitely look for that.
It's just and the reason why I believe that is the case is because Optimus Primal has a map.
Mm-hmm.
And because he has a map of the actual base, like the whole tower itself with the mountain, it leads me to believe that ship transformed into into the mountain as cover. So, yeah, like the Axelon itself. They're saying they didn't call it the Axelon, so
right. Yeah.
They didn't add all of the lore in. And I think it's a lot of that stuff was cut for time.
I know. A lot of people, as far as the Bay films go, a lot of people like Dark of the Moon is, whether you like the Bay films or not. I find it hard to watch because it's almost 2.5 hours long. But I always thought it would have been neat if the space shuttle Xanthium that they had, if that had turned into Omega Supreme, but I know they didn't go that direction with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they did something
would have
like
been
that.
probably more like Skyline.
They wouldn't have been able to do everything they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I am convinced that it is a reboot. In my opinion, there's no way it can't work, because if you're going to do G.I. Joe, there's no way you're going to be able to do the 2007 movie.
Yeah,
it just does not fit at all whatsoever. Dark of the Moon, I see why for a lot of people, for the live action films, why, like for the 5 Bay films specifically, why it's their favorite. I can see why, but like you said, it's very long. I think that's like Age of Extinction drags on.
Yeah.
Oof, gosh, the milk commercial, the transformium, the turning a gun into a My Little Pony, like just
I go back and forth on that one, because for me, I was like, oh, it was nice to not have Shia LaBeouf screaming Bumblebee, every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, the plot on that one had a lot of issues.
Yeah, like I go back and forth, because whether or not like the 2007 movie and the Dark of the Moon are the better of the two Bay films. If I was to say which ones are, like, if I were to rank those 5, I would rank those 2 close, just like I'm ranking Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee very similarly. Like it's like kind of like one better than the other a little bit more. And
I tell my family, like, if we got a Transformers live action movie that was that opening sequence from Bumblebee, the whole movie, that would be amazing.
That and the ending sequence when Bumblebee is riding on the Golden Gate Bridge next to Optimus. I was like, dude, with the trailer and everything.
Yeah, being a born and raised in the Bay Area, San Francisco, close to my heart. I love the Golden Gate Bridge. It's unfortunate what's going to happen to that city as of late, but of course, Omega Supreme, the Secret of Omega Supreme, partially takes place in San Francisco. So one of my favorite G1 episodes.
There you go. And now they're not keeping San Francisco clean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would make Omega Supreme cry to see it.
Probably. I've only heard Age of Extinction angers me. I hear you there. The Romeo and Juliet law.
Ugh.
Like I said, the milk commercial, Omega Supreme versus Devastator. You got that right.
Great fight.
About RC and where was she in the Bumblebee movie? She was on Cybertron, like in the Cybertron scene. She's the one like saying like, oh, they're attacking the Capitol or whatever. Age of Extinction and The Last Night don't exist to me. The Last Night's painful to rewatch.
Yeah,
Last Night's just completely painful to rewatch.
Yeah, I did a whole rewatch probably about a month ago of all the Bay. Yeah, I'll tell you the one redeeming quality, and it's small, very small. The one redeeming quality I have I'll give The Last Night is Cogman. Cogman makes me laugh. I don't know why. If I could just have the Cogman clips put together and throw the rest of the movie away.
Yeah, that is true. He was good, and I would even say, oh no, there was no redeem. Like it was hard to like the rest of the movie. Just like I mean,
who's the main character in that movie?
It keeps on trying to move back and forth, like what it wants to do. Yeah, and Hot Rod hurt my soul. Yep, that's for sure. Hot Rod hurt my soul, man. Yeah, kind of bummed that a lot of the lore for the Beast Wars was cut. Dinobot needed his chance to redeem himself. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We needed a Dinobot.
Yeah, hopefully.
I wonder if they'll do a sequel with just the Beast Wars characters, have the Predacons enter, and have Dinobot be one of them, and then have Dinobot defect.
The proper Beast Wars movie.
Yeah, like a proper Beast Wars movie. That would actually be cool. Like, okay, they've killed Airraiser off, but they still have other Maximals that still exist. And just let them be separate. Like that would be kind of neat, because what's it called? Like the way that they did the Beast Wars characters in this movie, like I was fine with the changing of the origins slightly because they needed to it's because of how they came to Earth. They didn't come to Earth on a ship 4 million years ago. So time traveling back to the distant past doesn't make sense if they're not doing something different. So it kind of makes sense for them to just hide out in the jungles and just be there.
Right.
So
I mean, I know in some lore, like in IDW,
I know in IDW is different.
Yeah. Well, they tried to set up Eucharis and all that, and although the one part where Primal says, I'm named after you, Optimus, the legendary warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Were they from Cybertron originally, or are they descendants of Cybertronians? It kind of really didn't go into that, so I was kind of.
They didn't say exactly. They said that we made it our mission, and I personally believe, and this was something that was probably cut from the movie and maybe might have been in one of the dialogue scenes, might have been what was Optimus Primal. Is he from the future of this Prime? And that would have made a lot more sense because he's so different than I thought that he would be, And I honestly think that is because Primal is from the future, that they time traveled into the past, just like Beast Wars did. So meeting an Optimus who's not yet Optimus, it would have made more sense.
Yeah,
it does make sense for them to do it that way.
Yep.
So, and I'm fine with that. And yeah, this has been a fun stream so far. I mean, just to talk about the movie, and because I want to talk about other Transformers news, but I was just like, you know what? I'll just talk about the movie specifically, and just focus in on Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, I don't want to derail it. I can take it in all sorts of different directions wherever you want to go.
In this timeline, could we actually end up at the 86 movie by 2005?
That's interesting.
That's an issue. It is the year 2000. Imagine the next movie. It is the year 2005. That would be kind of cool. Actually, I think that would be very cool. I think marketing got me a bit. I expected Primal to be more pessimistic. Okay, yeah. When I thought Primal was a good. Him and Airazor were really trying to get the Autobots to this is the thing we need to unite against, and I thought that was a good storyline for that because Unicron was coming in, and we know this is Unicron as Thanos, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tried to look up the actor who did some of it because I didn't expect Unicron to have any dialogue, but I thought it was nice. And of course, with voice synthesization, anybody can make anybody sound cool. I didn't recognize him from any other projects, but I thought the voice was pretty good for what it was. Some of the dialogue, not so much. The whole "I'm so hungry I could die" or
yes, yeah. That was one of my negatives. I didn't really talk about that completely. My negatives were definitely the dialogue. The dialogue with with Unicron. I didn't care for his voice really. I did like the eyes thing where it was basically his eyes like Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah.
But his dialogue just didn't really sell it for me specifically. But he looked cool. He looked fantastic. But again, I think they used a different actor for Thanos. I think, right?
Just the headshot at the end of the post-credit scene for Avengers, but in Guardians, it was still Josh Brolin.
Okay.
They just didn't know quite where to go with him at that point.
Yeah, so they hadn't figured out where they were going with him, and I think that's probably the same thing here.
Yeah.
Bringing in Unicron, and they're doing the same thing with him here.
I did like after they found the first part of the transwarp key and Scourge thought he had accomplished his mission, and when he failed, and then you see the little torture there, that was a kind of a nice little callback to the 86 movie, how he could manipulate Galvatron. In this case, it was Scourge, though.
Yeah, this time it was Scourge. Some have theorized that they're going to do Cyclonus in the next movie, and they're going to do Galvatron in the third movie, but they've got to do Megatron. They've got to bring Megatron first before they bring Galvatron, and they've got to do Galvatron right.
Yes.
They've got to have Megatron become Galvatron. Like, you can't just, like, first and foremost, like the way they did it in Age of Extinction was awful. And just turns into a bunch of particles, and then the particles reform into a robot that just, it was awful. And not created by Unicron. That was awful. And then, of course, I really don't like IDW Galvatron. That's not Galvatron to me. That's just barbarian, whatever Tron.
Yeah.
The Maximal planet seemed like the ending of Beast Machines. That might make sense. Like that is possible. Yeah, you can't just kill off main characters. It's true.
No, it's funny. I don't know much about a lot of the BotCon or the pro stories, but I do have a interesting story about Ape Link, because I did attend BotCon 2000, was in Fort Wayne, Indiana that year.
Okay.
And so two of the only BotCon exclusive toys I've ever owned were Ape Link and Shocker Act. And of course, you look on eBay, and the third party or the third aftermarket prices for those toys are astronomical. But I didn't think about it at the time. And Car Robots, which hadn't even become Robots in Disguise yet, was brand new in 2000. So the whole toy line was coming out, and I was really excited about the return to vehicles, and even some of them being G1 reuses. So I straight up traded a vendor. I gave him my Ape Link and my Shocker Act for a mint in box Ruination or Baldigus. It was a Baldigus.
You got the Japanese Baldigus?
Baldigus and JRX. And it's like, I would have made that trade again, but a lot of people were, wow, you're crazy. But so I did own Ape Link and Shocker Act for about an hour.
Wow. I've only seen images of the toy. It's just Optimus Primal, basically.
Yeah, it's just Transmetal Optimus Primal. Same box.
I hope they bring Air back as a one subplot if Beast Wars movie happens. That would be kind of neat. I get it that like a lot of people really like the IDW comics. Like, for me, they had a lot of good stories up to a point, and Golden until 2015. I think they dropped the ball before that point, but I still didn't care for the separation of certain characters like Goldbug and Galvatron, and I didn't care for how certain characters were treated in that continuity. And I know, like I said, I know some people really enjoy the stories, but
All Hell Megatron is probably my favorite IDW story, and I know a lot of people
hate
don't share.
I don't necessarily hate it. Just like,
I think it was a change because after
Furman left.
Yeah, after Furman left, and to me it seemed like it tried to, for a minute, want to actually do something similar to the Sunbow cartoon. Not really, but it gave me that familiarity back, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this again. And then it kind of started to morph into something more along the lines of the live action universe, and then it kind of did its own thing.
Yeah. It's when it started going off into its own thing. I was still I wish that Thundercracker had a weird shift.
Yeah.
The shift, the way he shifted didn't make sense to me reading it, because when I did my Thundercracker retrospective, I literally read through his entire storyline, and I'm sitting there reading it going, the shift is too weird. Like, I understand it from the perspective of how he saw it. I could have seen him returning to the Decepticons before Barber took over. Barber completely changed the character when he took over writing duties, and completely changed Thundercracker. Now, I know people love Barber's Thundercracker, but to me, it's like a complete character shift, and one that does not make sense to me. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And mind you, again, I know people love it, but G1 and Beast Wars are on YouTube. That I do know. Yeah, on I think Hasbro Pulse's channel, people are able to watch it. So you can watch all 98 episodes of G1 and all 52 episodes of Beast Wars.
Yep. A lot of them, those two, and also a lot of others, Beast Machines, and then of course the Armada or the Unicron trilogy. A lot of those are on a Tubi for free for those that have access.
Speaking of Unicron trilogy, oh my gosh, there were I forgot which character I was doing a retrospective on, and I was really watching a lot of Armada, and I got to some of the episodes before, but right around when before Jetfire is introduced in Armada, and still around that same time, the animation just takes a nosedive, like really takes a nosedive, like so many animation errors, and not all of them got fixed for the Japanese Micron Legend.
Yeah, I still need to watch Micron Legend, and it's tough. I mean, if I watch it subbed, then that maybe helps with some of the corny English dialogue. But yeah, that's something I still get to do.
I actually also watched episodes of Superlink.
Yeah, I have Superlink. I actually like that.
Superlink makes a lot more sense than Energon does. And especially around that one episode that they cut.
Oh, the one with the Inferno?
Well, yeah. Well, it's the Scorponok's
Scorponok's Lament. Yeah.
Yeah, Scorponok's Lament, whatever the proper title is supposed to be. That episode is so crucial to the storyline that when you watch it, you're like, how can you cut this? Like, it doesn't make sense not to have in the storyline. 4K Beast Wars. Can you imagine if they redid the animation for Beast Wars and for today's animation, like use the Kingdom models? Because Transformers Prime Animation Studio, you'd have to use their animation studio to do that. It took you 3 years to get through Energon. Oh, Optimus Prime's mouth. Not a fan of that. That's what I had that up before. I don't care. His mouth was just had these weird. It's still. I don't care for it. I don't care for it at all.
Yeah, I heard. I guess they were going for straight up for Peter Cullen's facial features. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Delzor just asked, and he said, "I just asked," and Cable Jr. said, "Oh yeah, sure." I think it was one of those like, "Yeah, sure," like answers like. But the mouth is too low. It had like the way the plates move just feel a little like look a little weird. Mirage looks proper. I like the way Mirage's face looks.
Yeah.
And I wish that if you're going to do Autobots with mouths, that Mirage should be the model. Like that is the proper way to do Transformers with mouths, in live action.
Yeah. Not too complicated.
Yep. Because otherwise it gets too busy. It's not even the robot nose, because if you notice, like they gave Optimus Prime like that weird, like the nose kind of like folds into his face, but like Mirage has the proper G1 just little block of a nose. It's just basically a sensor.
You mentioned in your review talking about Scourge when his faceplate comes off.
He looks like
right, and my kid said the same thing, and I can see it. It could have been, I don't know if it was just my thought, but did you see anything that maybe did it look a little organic to you, or maybe even techno-organic, or that could have been just something?
I was looking at it like the second time around, and the second time around I noticed that he had robot bits underneath his eye, and because the way that the face got kicked off, that was the battle scar underneath. So his eye was kind of like messed up, and it was robotic. So he was fully robotic. I know you probably were looking for that too, like if there was something different about him, but that wasn't the case there. Mega Man blasters. That is something I wish that I think it's something as iconic about holding that big rifle that an Optimus always had.
Yeah.
And I wish he still had that. But I guess it's something you have to live with the movie. RC's face. What did you think of how they did the CG on her face?
Oh, I thought she was really well done. My daughter's a big RC fan, and so just her character all around. Seeing her being so small, like fitting inside Wheeljack,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of liked how they just made her character really different. Now, let me ask you, just kind of going back to the toys, and I know things kind of differentiate. For Bumblebee, she got a deluxe size toy.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, on Cybertron versus being on Earth and things mass shift. Core class toys are kind of weird to me because I understand for the most part you're getting a smaller version of a legacy character. You're getting a smaller version of Optimus, Megatron, Starscream. For kids or even adults that like them. But then you had Rat Trap, who was actually supposed to be to scale with all the other Kingdom figures. So he's
Right.
like the one that was actually supposed to be. So now we have a core RC for Rise of the Beast. Do you think that's supposed to be accurate or a smaller
I
representation?
think for scale purposes, I think she's a little bit taller.
Yeah.
I think if they did a small deluxe with her, it would be better.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do her proper, they should honestly do her in deluxe scale. But I think that they're also looking at what figures are sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I believe that RC shelf swarms.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a Walmart right now where there are 10 Bumblebee RCs still sitting around right up the street from me.
Another super chat. I gotta announce. I gotta give a thank you for it.
Stop! Let go of my dad!
Man.
Fear it for life, baby.
Yeah. I always laughed at that because, of course, it's a cartoon. You don't want to take it seriously. But think about it. If you just straight up punched something solid metal like that, your hand would break. I always think, you expect.
I think that they didn't animate the wrench.
Yeah.
They didn't draw the wrench, and they added that tink sound
Yeah.
effect. But sad Bumblebee RC noises. RC was cool in the movie, though.
Yeah.
I like when she comes out the side of Pablo Jack, and I'll show it again here.
Yeah. They did the whole slowdown thing with the missile going through him. And,
Yep.
Oh yeah, right there.
Right there, and then with the wheels there, her wheels are on her back. I notice in robot mode, and then they slide down, so it's kind of weird how she does that in the movie.
You got the promo box from Hasbro, right? All the toys.
Yes,
Did it come with a core RC?
it came with the core RC. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked at it up close yet.
Yeah, that was the one figure my daughter literally yanked, and she said, "I'm keeping this one."
Nice.
My daughter, I got a little Transformer fan, like hardcore Transformers fan in the works. She's not going to go off out of her way to learn how to transform every figure. She's more so about the characters. But we were watching Prime Target, and Chun-Li uses holograms of Blitzwing and Astro Train to trick Trax and Bumblebee. And they go, "Oh, it's a hologram." And my daughter literally turns to me and she goes, "Daddy, that's like Hound." And I was like, "Yes, I'm raising him right."
Yeah. Well, so yeah, my daughter, she just graduated from high school, so can't believe that. Yeah, she's 18, but she's got her little shelf with different things, but I keep putting Transformers up there. She started with a couple of RCs and an Alita one. And then I just Minerva was the one, it was really hard to find. I was like, okay, and here you go. Now you got Minerva.
Yeah, I have Minerva. Actually,
yeah, you just did a review. I saw it.
She's right here. Yep. I still have her chilling out. And I hadn't put her away yet. I'm sure my daughter will come in here and play with her. I've got Lyle Convoy I still have to record a review for him, but I haven't transformed him yet.
Yeah, hell, I love that toy. In fact, I didn't get Kingdom Optimus Primal.
Really?
So after I got Lyle Convoy, I was like, okay, I need one of every leader. So I went back and got an Optimus Primal. So
you didn't order the 2-pack then, did you?
no.
Oh, because they're doing the 2-pack for Optimus Primal
And
with
Megatron.
with Megatron and his cartoon accurate colors, and I ordered it because I have Optimus Primal and I have that Megatron, and I'm like, I really want it in cartoon accurate colors.
Yeah, those are all hanging out in my son's room. I don't know. I know you're not a big Volcanicus fan, but I got my core one that I'm building right now. He's got one leg.
Nice.
So far. And I went to the beach a couple weeks ago, and on the way back we got to look at some targets that we didn't go to normally. So I found Scar.
Okay.
And Swoop. So
So now you just have one more to go, right?
One more to go. And then I'm actually building 2 sets, one for myself and then a friend of mine. He's got a little boy who's 5 years old. He loves dinosaurs and robots. So there you go.
I hear this guy right here. They killed my boy Jazz. I love Jazz.
Yep.
I'm actually gonna do. I'm gonna take when I do the remasters for both Mirage and Jazz. I'm gonna basically use the core of both videos. I'm just gonna add to them in places like I've done before, and then of course I'm gonna add on the more modern stuff that's talked about and stuff. So the structure for a majority of both videos are going to be the same, but the information is going to be updated, which is good because I think both of those videos need it. And I need to properly pronounce Mirage's vehicle.
Oh.
And I need to properly and I need to give credit to the voice actors. And I didn't give all the voice credit actors too.
Yeah, I heard Chris McFeely's video, and I was looking at it and I was like, wow, I don't even know how I would pronounce that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't usually watch his content. So
yeah, he pronounced it, the name of the cigarette company that's on there, and I was like, wow, good on him. I don't know how he did that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of people were wondering about with my Metal Hawk video is like I was trying to get that out before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
That Metal Hawk video. And that was my plan, but unfortunately I could not finish it in time. Just took me forever to get all the information correct. Yeah. I also had gotten the letters page from the UK that had the making mention of Metal Hawk.
Yeah.
Which was not like they never, obviously they never released Metal Hawk in the US or the UK, so the character doesn't exist to them. So we don't even know who Metal Hawk is.
Yeah.
By that point, the comic was already coming to a close, really.
Yeah. No, I
think by that point, that was the last UK story, right?
Was that 92?
I think it was 289.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that was the end of the road with it had the black and white Stunticons.
Oh yeah, but I mean, what was the year? 1992 or 91?
I think it was 90.
90.
At that point.
Yeah.
Because then the rest of it was because in the UK they split the books into weekly because it was all weekly.
Right.
They split the US stories from issues 65 through 80, and that's all they had in the tail end of the UK. All split up, but they also printed the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover at the end of the UK.
Oh, okay.
And the reason they did that was they said, yes, we know in our stories, but in the US they didn't get that story, so this is how it was told in the US. And they just basically like shot it straight with the UK fans. And then right after that, the G.I. Joe had a Transformers crossover with turning Megatron into a tank.
Yeah. That's what got me back into the comics. I was totally out for a long time, and then a friend of mine he was going to the comic shop every day. He's like, check out this G.I. Joe comic. It's like it's got Transformers, and then yeah, I picked up all of G2 after that.
Cool. Yeah, G2 was okay. It was okay. It was violent as all get out, but
yeah, no, I really liked the Metal Hawk video. In fact, I didn't get the Kingdom Cyclonus toy, so when I got Metal Hawk, that was my first experience with that toy, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the Metal Hawk toy is actually really good. I enjoyed the heck out of it. That's why I was thinking of either reviewing it or doing a retrospective after I got the toy, and I was like, I'm gonna do a retrospective of the character because there's not any videos for them.
Yep.
So the Maximal weapons glow green, red, and blue for Rhinox, Cheetor, and Primal was very nice detail. I did not notice the color of the weapons, specifically in the movie. That's a detail I'm gonna have to pick out, I guess, the next time I watch it. Probably when it comes out on streaming, because money is tight.
Oh yeah.
Where are we? So another thank you here. I know this one's been played already before, but let's go for it.
Word. Let's take it back to the old school. Word. Let's take it back to the old school.
Love it.
I love it. I still say it. I'll say it again. They should have brought in Trax and Raul. That would have been awesome.
Kind of thinking about the Noah Diaz character, what character he could be in G.I. Joe, but I mean, it'll probably be an original character if they go that direction. But
they probably are going to make him an original because he already is an original character.
Yeah.
So they can just insert him into the movie and give him a G.I. Joe alias.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like, sometimes they don't stick true to it. They name slap, because that's one thing I know, like all the G.I. Joe characters have real names other than their code names, and there was no Noah Diaz. But if they put like Stalker on him or something, I'm sure G.I. Joe fans probably wouldn't really appreciate that.
No, they would not. I don't think G.I. Joe fans would be happy if Stalker was Noah Diaz.
Yeah.
I think that I wonder if he'll actually be a G.I. Joe character, because, unless they're gearing him up to be someone else. Like the Snake Eyes movie was, I have not seen it, but I've heard so many awful things. And once I heard that they were completely changing the butchering the source material for their own their own writings, I was like, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to pay money to go see a movie like that just refuses to even get the storylines even correct. Like here, Stephen Cable Jr. was trying to insert as much as he could into this movie from the source material, because I honestly believe he knew that fans wanted to see this stuff.
Yeah.
And he knew that fans were like up about this and about that and hearing what they wanted to hear, this kind of stuff, but they couldn't they wanted to tell their own story within the live action films, and it makes sense. Noah could be Breaker. That would make sense because he's with his tech skills.
Yep.
What was Breaker's real name?
Yeah, I just looked it up before we were on. I can't remember.
It was his real name was Alvin Kibbe. So I can see them changing that. I can completely see them changing that. So I don't want them to Sergeant Slaughter. They've got to bring Sergeant Slaughter. Either that or they have to recast Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Stephen Cable Jr. is a Beast Wars and G1 fan. But knowing that he had to try and do what he could to work into the movie with what he wanted to do.
Right.
It's funny because Lorenzo actually asked him, how would G.I. Joe know that that the Transformers are doing all this kind of stuff. Well, they're GI Joe, of course they would know. And it's Lorenzo who asks those questions.
Yeah,
because it's clear that he's out of touch with the lore, and he's more so about like, will these movies make money, and how will we tell this story to go forward? I get it, but he's out of touch. He's also apparently the guy who was instrumental in putting the bat nipples on Batman, on the bat suit.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Thank Lorenzo Di Bonaventura for that.
Oof. That's rough.
G.I. Joe, like S.H.I.E.L.D., are always watching.
There you go. They don't mess around. It was
Steven's idea to include G.I. Joe. Yeah, you want to have a live action film universe. Like, that was a pretty cool. I wish they used the old logo, personally, like the old with the stripes.
Real American Hero.
The Real American Hero logo, instead of the movie one. Yeah, how would they know?
Yeah, it's like, of course, we throw continuity out the window, but I can't even say it, but it's like, if this movie, we talked about, this takes place in 1994, and then 2007, nobody's going to remember that 13 years earlier a giant planet was surrounding the Earth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Well, in this movie, the portal was specifically above Peru.
Yeah.
So,
but you had the storm and everything. Like
the storm was worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would have just been the storm.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that at least they actually show Unicron instead of how, like, Rise of Silver. Speaking of another Rise movie, Rise of Silver Surfer had Galactus as a cloud. Lorenzo, I don't get Beast Wars. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. He did say that.
Ooh.
How would they do the Neo Knights? Reinventing Circuit Breaker as a new character to avoid lawsuits. That's a good one. That's a good question.
Wow.
Power Rangers, Transformers. I don't know if they can do that crossover justice. I really don't think that Bat ice skates were the worst. Bat credit card.
Yeah.
The Bat credit card. That one had me go, what? That was just as cringy as the Pablo Jack's introduction.
Yeah.
Like, that introduction was really cringy. And it made me think about that the character would work if you called him Beachcomber.
Mm-hmm.
Because of he had the butterfly, the bugs kind of like coming out of him. And he just kind of goes like this. And it was like, it was such a thing or whatever. And I'm like, a bad credit card. It was originally Sector 7 that was supposed to recruit Noah, and Steven changed it to G.I. Joe. Awesome. I'm actually thankful for that.
Yeah.
Again, I thought that whole scene was cringe.
Yeah.
That whole scene itself was cringe. It really was. Like, for the rest of the character, it just, and again, don't call him Wheeljack.
There you go.
Lorenzo saw Michael Bay meme, genius, and Lorenzo said yes.
Yeah,
the butterflies.
The line that the character that shall not be named said, "We're all gonna die." I caught that right away. As being something from Rat Trap. I mean, you think that's something that the director? I mean, being a Beast Wars fan, I think he
must have inserted in there. Yeah, call him Rat Jack.
Yeah. I know that's my daughter was kind of disappointed because she likes Rat Trap, and I was like, well, Air Razor, you get like a giant 20-foot, falcon, you can understand that. But if people saw, like maybe a 10 or 15-foot rat walking, because I don't think they would make him the size of an actual rat. I mean, they could, of course, have done it,
Well, a
I don't know.
20-foot rat in New York City would not be out of the ordinary.
Okay. There you go.
You know, especially considering
Yeah.
the trash in New York City. Like, they do have some pretty big rats around there.
Good point. Didn't think about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, rat trap in New York City would not be out of the ordinary.
Right.
Like,
Then-
they would have just gone like, man, the rats are getting real big this year.
They could have in South America. They could have made him a capybara, world's biggest rodent.
That's true. I love IMDb's trivia that whenever anyone is says it's automatically a reference to Beast Wars. Okay. You thought the line was funny. Oh, the we're all gonna die, or the I'm not sure what line he's referring to. Yeah, the rats are as big as dogs. Rat trap strolling in New York while dragging a pizza. What are the similarities of the exosuit in the first Action Force live action movie or G.I. Joe action movie? Right, you're talking about You're talking about the G.I. Joe movie, right? Well, the suit, I didn't care for those suits. You know what? That does make sense. That no, they would put those movies in continuity. I wouldn't be a fan of that. Pete Davidson was good as Mirage, though. I will say that. I think that worked. So yeah, you're referring to G.I. Joe.
Okay.
I saw a rat trap in my neighbor's house. And, the rats shrunk in New York. Yeah, you've ever seen one of them walk by you? You're like, ugh. They're pretty nasty. Transformers Ninja Turtles crossover would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool. It's funny so we're just going to refer to your avatar as Venomous. That's who the robot is going to be called from now on. Venomous. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that would work. But the Pablo line,
yeah,
it was kind of weird. We're all going to die. Specifically, that line, like it for me, it felt like that belonged to on Rat Trap.
Yeah.
As for Matt Trap means tunnel rat. What's Tunnel Rat's real name? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Is I know in real world G.I. Joe American Hero started in '82, and Tunnel Rat came in the movie in 1987. Or I don't know if he was did he come in the comics before he was in the animated movie? I'm not sure on that. I'm only familiar with Tunnel Rat from
his first appearance was May of '87, so I think the movie came out after that, right? Because he showed up in the movie.
Yeah.
His real name is Nicky Lee.
Yeah, that's one that I was thinking about too, because a later character.
Yeah. I can see them turning Noah Diaz into Tunnel Rat. I don't want them to ape a G.I. Joe character from their real names. I'd rather they just do it right or don't do it at all.
Right.
Just do it right or don't do it at all. And that's how they should be doing it, period.
Yeah.
I think that should be like lore 101. Like either do it right or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And that should go for Transformers. That should go for Transformers can change into all these different things. And it's like, guys, we've never gotten a G1 Transformers movie ever. We never got that movie. We got an 86 animated movie that is part of the cartoon.
Right.
It's part of the cartoon. We never got a live action G1 style Transformers movie. If you remember, do you remember back in 2005 when we first heard the movie was coming out?
I was at BotCon 2004,
okay.
And Peter Cullen made an appearance there, and we were saying it, and fans were asking, "Are you going to be Optimus Prime in the movie?" And he's like, he didn't even know they were making a movie, and fans even back then were rallying. It's like, you need to be Optimus Prime.
Yep.
In the Transformers movie.
2004. Yeah. as far back as 2004, we were rallying for a live action Transformers movie that was supposed to be done for us, the fans.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's what we were supposed to have gotten in 2007 until. And there's even I have an image on my computer of one of the earlier designs for Megatron, and he actually turns into a tank.
Mhm.
And it was G1 Megatron,
Right.
but he would have turned into a tank.
Yeah. Now that exact phrase you use, "do it right" or "don't do it at all," I've used that before. Do you apply that to the toys as well?
In a lot of ways, I do. Sometimes I'll make exceptions because of
Yeah.
like there's hollowness in a lot of these Transformers toys
Right.
now, and you have to fix that.
Now, a big point of contention among a lot of people is, are we ever going to get a Studio Series 86 Megatron? I mean, that would what that would entail, and a lot of people are giving the consent. Oh, we could just do the tank, but he wasn't a tank in the movie.
Yeah,
So,
and that's the problem. Like the other thing is then you have to make an accessory that fits Studio Series 86 Starscream. You have to make the gun accessory.
Yeah.
So gift the robot mode correct, and if you make him a tank, make him a pseudo tank. Personally speaking, I actually asked, who was it, Evan on the Hasbro team?
Yeah.
I asked him. I said, why don't we do a helicopter like animated?
Mhm.
Because with a helicopter, it's easier to hide the helicopter bits.
That's true.
And you can keep the profile of a G1 Optimus Prime. Give him the animated swords and hide the cockpit somewhere so that it's not in the way. And then make it so that it is close enough to the G1 cartoon Megatron in robot mode, but he turns into a helicopter. Like, you can make all of those parts work.
Right.
Or an upside down submarine.
Yeah, or space gun. Yeah.
Yeah. An upside down submarine works too, because then you're really getting, but like that's how you can get around that, But I think that honestly, like the animated take with the helicopter just works because it gives him a vehicle mode. It keeps the profile. You're able to get all the parts where you need them to go. Just look at animated Megatron. Make animated Megatron as a G1 Megatron and it works. So, without the lights and the sounds.
Right. Exactly.
Because how much money it costs for those lights and sounds.
I don't even think they do lights and sound features on. Well,
not anymore.
Not for the main line. They do some they have that. I guess auto transforming Optimus Primal.
Right.
But it's not for the regular mainline ones.
Speaking of which, since I'm now at 100,000 subscribers, when I do, that might be one of the things I might be doing with my giveaway. I might actually be doing that as far as the giveaway, because I'm going to do a live stream like this.
Nice.
And have some fun and try to get everybody together.
Cool.
For that, and it'll be fun. But I want to get some retrospectives done as well. I got two I'm working on. Space Gun, Welcome from Men in Black. Yeah. I hear it. I hear so many people say submarine Megs. Make him a submarine, an upside down submarine. And Megatron specifically, I think is the Bayverse design. I cannot. Him and Starscream.
Oh, the chicken legs and.
Oh gosh. The Decepticons deserve a lot better as in the movies than what they've gotten in the movies.
Yeah, that's true. Bloodthirsty monsters.
Mm-hmm. I understand why it's difficult to do. Though I do understand why it's difficult to do a gun mode for Megatron in today's day and age, but there's ways around it. Yeah. You can if you can turn that helicopter into a gun mode, it works, like a pseudo gun mode. It's harder to do that with a tank. alt mode. Like I know I've seen people do it where they've reconfigured their Siege Megatron into a gun,
Oh,
and it doesn't quite work.
wow. Man, that siege mold, they've used that like what, at least 10 times, and
they've got to do a brand new mold for Megatron.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
that and Optimus. They've got to get that transformation just right too.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, I guess with Kingdom Rodimus, I mean, that was really successful. A lot of people like that, and
Kingdom Rodimus is such a great figure.
I questioned it at the Commander class price point, and I got him sitting right here, and it's a great toy. So
they
can do the same thing with Optimus. Just give him the fully tricked out trailer.
Let me actually grab him real quick. Right here. Ugh. My Kingdom Rodimus is customized, so take a look at that face.
Yeah, I just got him basic.
Look at that face sculpt. How I painted it the light gray.
Very nice.
And I got the Toy Hacks labels on him.
Oh, cool. And
I also look at his chin too. I actually trimmed his chin.
Oh, okay, yeah. You took the whole Jay Leno chin off.
Yep. So I made it not stick out so much, and then I painted the face a lighter gray, and I kept the stock, chest, and what is it? Of course, the Toy Hacks labels just add so much more detail to him.
So we got the old and busted, and Rodimus has the new hotness.
Yep. So. But he's just an amazing looking figure. And then with Wheeljack here, I actually have the it's Go Better Studios is the spoiler kit. So like the spoiler on the back has the wings, and then I got the Toy Hacks labels on him, which makes Wheeljack like great. And that's why I have like this particular shoulder cannon on him. And the only thing is like the filler kit I have to glue. I need to either paint it or glue it so it stays in on his one thigh, because it must have gotten messed around in the move. But it is what it is. Sometimes these fill kits, they don't stay in all the way.
Yeah,
you gotta like paint them or do something to keep them in.
Yeah, I mean, you did some great work for me a couple years ago with those Combiner Wars ratchets. But yeah, I mean, all those filler kits and everything, I've just always been so afraid that, I'm going to break something or do something with any of these toys. So, I mean, I always appreciate when you review and do all those things.
That director in Hoist Goes Hollywood is Michael Bay. We'll work him into the picture.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't work. What was it? Dark of the Moon, when they were filming that, and one of the Bumblebee cars got into an actual accident.
Yes, I heard about that.
They didn't actually work that into the.
They didn't work that into the picture. What are my hopes and thoughts out of Origins Wheeljack? First and foremost, I want it.
Good question.
I requested it.
Yep.
I'm the one that said to Evan Evan and Mark, I said, can we get a Wheeljack Origins? And they were like, well, how would we do that to be able to get Bumblebee to fit in there?
Voyager.
And I said, you could make miracles happen. And they went, and Mark literally went like this with his beard. So that was cool. Can Headmasters be means for Transformers crossovers? Yeah, that actually could work. Raz, what's going on, man? Raz is one of my supporters and always well appreciated. He just interviewed Paul Eiding. I was busy all day, so I have to sit down and watch his interview with Paul Eiding.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of cool.
It's here on YouTube.
It's here on YouTube. Yep.
Awesome. I'll check that out.
He's really cool guy. But for those two of the super chats, we've got this one right here. Transformers more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons, the Transformers. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, dun 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 dun.
I want to see the recreation of that video in 10 years from now.
Yeah. You might even get. I think I'm gonna have to do one more recent now since I've moved down here.
Yeah.
You know, I got out of New Jersey, and I'm no longer in that Cape Cod, and I'm now in this house here in Florida.
Yeah. I think my daughter's actually listening to us right now, and my son, he's off in his room playing games. But yeah.
Yeah, the music is actually from Breadhenge. And he does these great guitar covers. He just recently did. I know he did the Unicron theme, and he's a cool dude. Like, I've seen a lot of his guitar covers. He did what is it, Seekers and Hiss Tanks, which is a great battle music. I think it's the season 2 battle music because it's also used in G.I. Joe. And he did all 3 seasons intros. He did some of I think he did the Unicron theme. Just really great stuff. So I need to reshoot in this new house.
Yeah, some of the later season 3 episodes of Transformers, they actually got some of the G.I. Joe the movie music themes in there. Like, I think about like when Optimus Prime goes into the Matrix during Return of Optimus Prime. Some of that music is from the G.I. Joe movie. Yeah,
it's all like from the same. Well, it's actually like it's the same composer, so like of both shows. So they just basically use both of them. Can we watch the scene where Megatron flicks Michael Bay and says disgusting? I want to see if there's a G1 scene of Megatron hitting. I gotta remember if Megatron hit a human in that show. Or I think he like picked up a human and tossed him or something.
Yeah. The Megatron's master plan. I have to watch that again. I don't know if he did anything to the Sean Berger character. He might.
I don't remember if he did. I don't remember. And I one of my favorite Megatron lines is in that episode where he says this city is under martial law, and I'm the marshal. Yep. It's a great line.
Yep.
Like G1 had so many good lines. This is where I question people. This and one of the things I liked about Rise of the Beast is it had a lot of good one-liners. Mm-hmm. Was that like G1 had so many good one-liners in that show that you can just watch an episode. Like every single episode has something quotable, even the worst of the G1 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, when my kids see something that maybe one of their friends have done that's maybe not the smartest thing, I always quote that line from Megatron to Starscream. He's like, "You're either lying or you're stupid."
I'm stupid. Then there was to tell Michael Bay that Carbamia exists.
Oh no.
Well, it's funny too because I see so many people have made comments about Carbamia, not realizing what was happening in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Like we had Muammar Gaddafi, who was a murderous dictator. And he he was I think it was the whole bombing of vehicles that was happening at the time. Right, a lot of car bombs, and that's why it was called Carbamia. Was happening in Libya. So it wasn't really like trying to make fun of Libya. It was trying to make fun of Gaddafi.
Right.
So they were trying to lampoon him as a character.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Casey Kasem didn't take it too well because he thought they were making fun of Libya. And it's like, no, we don't have a problem with Libyans. Mm-hmm. We have a problem with Gaddafi.
Yeah.
And currently right now, because he's the leader of Libya, it puts the U.S. at odds. But it's not relevant in in the mid 2000s because, or even the later now in today's age because Libya is a different country,
right?
But back then it was the time as well, and not to mention also the Soviet Union doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, there are tons of anti-Soviet information or themes in GI Joe and in the Inhumanoids. You remember the Inhumanoids?
Yep. Yeah, a lot of anti-Soviet stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I would thinking about that, and then you remember the character Hector Ramirez.
Yep, he was in all 4 shows.
I wonder what anybody could do if they could get the real Geraldo Rivera to be just on screen and say, "Hi, I'm Hector Ramirez."
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
And everybody under 40 is like, who?
Yeah. No, I think Geraldo Rivera is still on TV now, isn't he? He's on something.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
He's still around.
Yeah. Trailbreaker is very underrated.
Yeah.
Skywarp and Thundercracker are underrated. They don't put Skywarp and Thundercracker together as a team as often as they should. Michael Bay would love Carbamia just to have a place where he could place explosions. This is why Cobra Commander seems like a silly character to use in it's G.I. Joe. It's G.I. Joe. Cobra Commander seems nothing like today's modern villain. This is why I vote for Iron Claw. Well, Cobra Commander, the thing about Cobra Commander in today's society, people would think of him as a hero.
Have you ever seen G.I. Joe Renegades?
Yes. I don't remember it, but I do remember watching
that whole underlying theme of they didn't use the word Walmart, but the whole underlying theme of Cobra being this benevolent entity where you can get all your things and we're here to help you. That makes me laugh when I see it.
Yeah, it's like turning him into heroes, but kind of thing. Which is funny because the last episode of G.I. Joe Renegades, the hub played a commercial with Duke waking up from his coma. Yeah. He had dreamt G.I. Joe Renegades.
Yep.
And I thought that was perfect.
Yeah.
Can't believe Hasbro done Skywarp dirty so far. Yeah, Skywarp is always... Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take... I don't know if I'm going to take the Earthrise one or the Studio Series 86 one and take the head off of that figure and put it on Skywarp painted with silver face so that he doesn't have the open mouth.
Got Siege Skywarp's one of his little buddies.
Oh, I'm talking about specifically Earthrise Skywarp, but yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos is Destro. I want Marissa Fairborn and Dirk Mannis.
Oh, wow.
Do we think it was worse, Bayjack or Pablo Jack? Well, it's Q versus Pablo.
It was
Q is Pablo's weird uncle, and Wheeljack is, and maybe Wheeljack is still around somewhere else. Let's not forget Legacy Skywarp has the Toon Fork weapon. Oh yeah. that weird weapon. I actually put the sword together and gave it to the core class Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, Q actually did invent stuff, but they just basically, I think they originally were supposed to call him Steeljaw, and they based him off of Doc Brown. Then they called him Q, like after the James Bond films, and then apparently he was supposed to be Wheeljack, and everyone's like, eh. G.I. Joe Renegades was the show that introduced me to G.I. Joe in general. At first, I couldn't take, but after watching Renegades, I really started to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite A Real American Hero episodes is Here Comes the Viper.
I've heard a lot of fans actually want a figure of the Viper.
The Viper. Yeah. That would be cool if he came with a Power Glide recolor.
Yeah.
With the Viper. The Window Viper.
The Window Viper.
That and who is it? That episode and the Game Master is also a good episode.
Yeah.
That one's written by Flint Dille himself, so that's what he actually named his book. after was that episode.
Funny, when GI Joe first came out, I didn't really, I was watching Transformers, but it's funny, they were always on back to back, Transformers and then GI Joe, and I would turn the TV off and go do something else. But when the third season started after the movie, and we had Five Faces of Darkness, that same week they played Arise Serpentor, Arise. So they were back to back. So I started right there. Basically, I was like, GI Joe took more of a sci-fi turn.
Yep.
So I started getting into it, and then I eventually got caught up with all the season 1 episodes.
Okay. Yeah. Season 1 of GI Joe is definitely more military. Yeah. And season 2, once they introduced Serpentor.
Yeah.
Into
a lot of fans didn't like that, but
I did like that they added Hawk into the cartoon, because Hawk was the main, leader in the comics at first, and then it switched to Duke.
So I thought in the original comics, did they have Joe Coulson, or was that something they just was that like inspiration?
I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read the GI Joe comics, but I do remember that Hawk was the leader.
Okay.
And he might have been the squad leader, because it was just like 13 original Joes, and it was just them. Like they came in and they came to fight Cobra.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on the HasLab GI Joe Viper? Cool. I don't collect GI Joe much anymore, so like I have like a lot of GI Joe figures already. So it's like I'm not really collecting.
I mean, it's cool. It's funded, and it's kind of nice to see. No doubt, it'll pass all its tiers. But for Hasbro properties, Transformers is 3 for 3 on HasLabs. GI Joe will be 3 for 3. So those folks that are developing the HasLabs for those, all credit to them. I know it's obviously you've seen what's happened with Marvel and Star Wars and their HasLabs, and they've kind of had some missteps. So as long as they keep coming, I mean, I got Victory Saber right here, and Deathsaurus is on the way. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I'm definitely looking forward to Deathsaurus as well.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here it is. Citizens of the world, I have already made all. No, it's hard to do that. It's Chris Latta voice. It's like, citizens of the world.
I don't even try it. I just say the lines. They don't make terrorists like they used to.
Yep. It's got to be like citizens of the world. I have already diverted all your bank accounts towards Cobra. I think that is a line, like something along the lines that he would do. He would make it where all the banks, which BlackRock, the modern day BlackRock, would definitely be a Cobra organization. Either BlackRock or Vanguard. All things considered.
Yeah.
So, when Mirage walks up to Pablo and Rise of the Beast, says Wheeljack needs to fix that. So easy for me to imagine that Wheeljack is elsewhere and will fix Pablo. Yeah, that's why you actually had to have Noah be the one to do it.
There you go.
Because that wasn't Wheeljack. Wheeljack, the real Wheeljack, would have been able to repair Mirage. Yeah, buy my Cobra NFTs. Steve Bloom as Starscream for the new movies. I like Steve Bloom as Starscream. I think he did a good job in Transformers Prime, all things considered. I mean, I love Tom Kenny as a modern day Starscream.
Yeah, they're both really
but
good.
I know a lot of people like Steve Bloom as well. Yeah. So, yeah, you got to do the cough, cough, cough.
Mm-hmm.
Have her. Like I said, okay, that was something else.
But
at this point now, I've been on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I knew this was going to turn into a late night stream of just BSing.
Yeah.
So, like, I wanted to be formal and make the Rise of the Beast, the primary focus of the live stream itself. And I'm about 50% done with this script. And I'm hoping I can get this video out by the end of the week. if I work on it every single day, because I got a lot of family stuff happening this week, and I think Father's Day is next weekend. So it's like, oh yay, lots of stuff to do. But I'm trying to get the next retrospective done. I am going to let my patrons and my channel members know once I get the script done who it is, so that I can record the audio, get the video done. It is a character that is in Rise of the Beast, so it is a tie-in for that. And then the next character after that is a major character in Rise of the Beasts. And those are my hints. One character is a minor character. The other character is a major character.
Awesome.
Of Rise of the Beasts. So you can get excited for that.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for all of you. Got me to 100,000 subscribers. It means a lot. It means a lot. It really
need to get you to 200,000 here.
Yes, we do. And I got to get more viewers. I got to get more people watching my videos on a regular basis. Get my Prowl, Metalhawk, Hound, Goldbug, Blur. Get those videos above 100,000 views.
Yep.
Let's get those videos up. Like, watch those videos on repeat. You know, it helps me out, because if people rewatch my videos, the algorithm pushes it out more. So, and I know there's a good 10 videos or so that I want to remaster, and the two that I'm going to remaster, and Jazz and Mirage, when I do redo them, they don't necessarily have to be remade, but at this point I think they do. I think at this point they think they do, because the two characters, it'll be good for those two characters specifically, all things considered. Just because, like, when you watch some of your old, like, you look at something you've made a while ago and you go, I could have done it so much better.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I feel with that. The other characters that the other videos I want to do, look at any one of my videos that still has the retrospectives that still have the blue bar. Actually, I know I think I've changed the thumbnails on a lot of them. But if the bar is on the bottom, then or the blue, if it's a blue bar on the bottom, it's like, I may want to redo that one. Like Primus and the Quintessons is one I'm like, when do I redo that?
It's gonna be tough.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That one, maybe I should just stick to like the old universe, because the Shroud changed everything.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But I really, really appreciate everybody who tuned in, watched. Stream was a lot of fun. Sambagar for $5.50 Canadian. I enjoyed Rise of the Beast. Hope to see a G1 style Megatron in live action. Oh yes. Bring Frank Welker in to do a G1 styled live action Megatron.
Make it happen.
Make it happen, right? Yep. So I would love to see it. Make him a tank, make him a helicopter, that works in live action. So I'm fine with that. That would be awesome. So with that said, one more of these.
Stop! Let go of my dad!
There you go.
And with that said, when this video goes live, of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section and all that kind of stuff. I'm tired. I'm just really, really tired.
Okay, everybody go see Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, definitely go see it. Let's hope that we can get a sequel for it with more Unicron in a sequel in a future movie. So as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.